We are calling for justice for all victims of police violence.
Yes. Thank you guys. First of all, I want to apologize for being late tonight. But we do have a very special show tonight. We're gonna have my sister Queen Miss Ellen. She's gonna be coming on Justice for Jesse. So we're gonna dive right into it after this video. We also have in queue as well Pastor Steve Turner, and you remember him. He's been on numerous times, and unfortunately, he's suffering from the loss of his wife, his beautiful wife, that also came down to support West Wednesday on many occasions. And also, Pastor Steve Turner is an ex-police officer, ex-Baltimore City police officer, so he knows all the crud in the mud. So just going to check in on everybody. So again, thank you guys for tuning in. Sorry we had a late start, but just please stay tuned, and we will be back with our special guest immediately after the video. Thank you. Mic check.
Can't stop. Won't stop. Till killer cops. Or in cell blocks. Can't stop.
The following newly released video portrays an incident of assault and violence at the hands of police. Viewer discretion is advised.
I suggest you back the fuck up. No.
This is Baltimore City Police Officer Jorge Bernardez Ruiz. In a newly released video shot in 2016, Ruiz is seen with his knee on the back of an unknown man with a gun pointed at the man's head. His message was a clear one. Concerned onlookers, adhere to my dictates or else. Here, we can hear Ruiz saying to Baltimore residents,
I suggest you back the fuck up. No.
It is documented that Baltimore police officer Jorge Bernardez Ruiz is a repeat violent offender, even without access to all complaints against Ruiz, undisclosed by BPD Internal Affairs records. 6 cases involving Ruiz are known. This video will briefly highlight 6 total cases beginning in July of 2013. Case 1, Abdul Salam, July 1st, 2013. Here Salam is seen victoriously smiling in celebration after the jury found Ruiz and 2 other cops liable for brutality against him. However, because the trial was civil, not criminal, Ruiz was not fired and he did not go to jail.
Police profiled me. They followed me in the back of my house, harassing me. Police proceeded to violently and hostilely approach my van with me and my son in it. As I announced, this was my home, guns drawn. Once they reached my vehicle, they violently pulled me out, ramshacked my vehicle with my 3-year-old son strapped in his car seat, threw me against the gate, slammed me repeatedly. Picked me up by my feet, and while I'm upside down, they proceeded to drop me on my head, hog-tie me, and immediately when I fell on my head, Ruiz, in a wrestling type of action, and kind of hit his knee against my neck. I was arrested. I had no idea what I was being arrested for. My son is scarred to this day. He remembers the incident as it happened yesterday. When he talks about it, he always refers to Daddy being on the floor with police yesterday.
Case 2, Darrell Harris, profiled, as seen in this video, July 17th, 2013.
Yeah, I said, what's wrong with it?
Improper way with it.
There's no such thing as an improper way.
You gonna tell me my job, bro?
I know the law.
Are you gonna tell me the law?
I know the law.
You gonna tell me the law?
I know the law. What's the problem? You giving me a ticket? You need my license registration?
Yeah, let me get it.
The profile, y'all use the seatbelt as a reason. Profile.
Do me a favor, take out your keys.
Yeah, you can record me. For what? Nah. I don't feel safe right now. Do you want me to step out the car? Do you want me to step out the car? I'll step out the car. Call the police, man. What do you call a supervisor? I want to do shit. This is getting uploaded to the internet right now. Yeah?
And we are 2 law-abiding citizens that we are getting targeted, and I don't know why.
Just 24 hours later, Bernardez Ruiz played a leading role in the police killing of unarmed Tyrone West. Case number 3, the murder of Tyrone West, July 18th, 2013.
My brother Tyrone West was brutally murdered on July the 18th, 2013.
In both of these cases, when you look at the pleadings and the harsh language of these officers that have been quoted to me by reliable witnesses, the N-word.
And Killer Ruiz and Killer Chapman and the rest of those 11 to 15 killers, including David Lewis, took something from my family that they could never give us again. And that was my brother Tyrone West, one unarmed man who was brutally murdered, beat to death in broad daylight.
Mic check, mic check.
Mic check. So again, guys, thank you for tuning in. No further ado, I am going to bring our sister Queen on, and I'm sorry she's not able to join us, on the live, but we will be able to hear her through the audio, and we're going to show you her beautiful picture. That is her. So we're going to actually bring her on. And Sister Queen, I want you to tell us who was Jesse to you, and what happened and all that. It's all yours, sister. Mic check.
Mic check.
Hi. Thank you so much. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yep. We can hear you loud and clear.
Okay. My name is Elaine Simons. Okay, it echoes. Sorry. Do I need to I probably should sign out then.
You're fine. You're fine.
My name is Elaine Simons, and I want to thank you for inviting me to share the life of Jesse Saray. Jesse was my foster son, and he had lived with me on 2 different occasions and ended up aging out into homelessness. On May 31st, 2019, Jesse was having a mental health episode, and 911 called for mental health backup. However, they never came. 2 police officers rode up on him, and they tried to tell him that he was doing disorderly conduct, and Jesse was like, "Hey man, I'm chill, I'm okay." And the police officer that encountered him said, "Okay, you're free to go." So Jesse left, and he walked across the street to a little grocery store and sat down next to an ice machine. And at first there were 2 police cars, but all of a sudden one police car rolled up on him. The police officer who had first encountered him, and asked Jesse to get up and told him he was under arrest for disorderly conduct. At that point, you can hear the dog barking in the background in the car, and Jesse's like, "Well, why are you arresting me? You let me go." So at this point, the police officer started to lift Jesse up from the ground, and a man jumped out of a car and said, hey, stop resisting. And Jesse continued to say, "Why am I under arrest? I'm not doing anything." And they got into a kind of a physical encounter, and the police officer took him into a chokehold and started hitting Jesse. And then eventually the van stepped back and pulled out his gun and shot Jesse point blank into the stomach. At this point, the witness is yelling, hey, he just shot him. And Jesse goes down on his back and he's looking at his stomach. And the police officer took his gun and head,
Oh
and
my
Jesse's
God.
already down. So that was kind of the situation, and I sent over a news thing. I don't know if you're able to see it, but it's a short clipping of the murder.
Oh my goodness.
This is Benjamin. I am uploading the right now. It's taking a few minutes to process. I wasn't able to
Okay.
upload the exact video that you found, but I was able to find the one from King 5. So as soon as that's uploaded, and it looks like it's just going to be a couple of seconds here, I can play the video if that's all right with you, Tawanda.
One, I don't know if that's the right one, but that's okay.
Tawanda, shall I play it?
That's fine if it's okay with Miss Allen. Is it okay if we play that, Miss Allen? And if you, as you tune in and listening, if you hear as though like it's not the right one and you don't want us to play it, you can say, "Oh, this is not the right one," and we will definitely stop.
What happened? Show what you have.
Can you repeat that, Miss Elaine?
She wanted to know which one did we have. I believe that's what she said.
That's fine. Go ahead and show it, and then I can explain what happened afterwards.
Okay. And just as a warning to our viewers, this may be violent material.
Family of a man killed by an Auburn police officer in 2019 is still seeking justice.
We now have an act to hold police to accountability. It is imperative to ensure oversight and accountability of police officers and correction officers.
Family and friends of Jesse Saray spoke outside the Kent courthouse yesterday. Officer Jeff Nelson is charged with second-degree murder. He fatally shot Saray while trying to make an arrest for disorderly conduct in a grocery store parking lot. Saray's family says he was suffering from a mental health crisis. Nelson is the first officer in the state to be charged under Initiative 940.
And for those of you who were not able to see that clearly, there was camera footage of an officer clearly violently taking down this young man.
Again, Miss Allen, I'm so deeply sorry. My heart goes out. I'm so sorry. Like, no mother should ever have to go through what she went through. Like, my heart completely goes out. So, just checking back in. And again, the floor is all yours. Mic check.
Mic check.
Mic check. Thank you so much. Yeah, it's been a really difficult journey for our family. We are very fortunate that we are going to have a murder trial. However, Officer Jeff Nelson has been on 2 years paid administrative leave, and he's under house arrest, and they keep continuing it. During this 2 years, Jesse's biological mom, Carrie, died on June 17, 2019. And then just on August 5th, 2022, my son, Terrell Saray, who is Jesse's little brother, died. And so we have lost 2 family members during this murder trial. And at the last court hearing, I had told the judge I wanted to speak. And the defense was like, this is unusual. The victim's families do not normally speak. And she overruled them. And basically, I looked at Nelson and said, you know, our family is dying. And I wanted to make it very clear, the biological mother and now the little brother Terrell are not here because they don't want to be here. They're here because they are dead. And the court, and the judge then said to the defense, Elaine Simons is Jesse's voice, and she will be allowed to speak. So it's been a real journey for us. I know we are blessed to have a murder trial, and it's the first in 30 years in the state of Washington. There has not been a murder trial of a cop in over 30 years.
Wow. Wow, I'm so sorry, and I'm just at a loss for words. But that just shows you how corrupt this system is. And even though this happened in Washington, and we're in Baltimore, but it's just really sad. But I am happy for you guys that you actually get to go through the process. But it's just still sad that, in a sense, that you're trying to fight for accountability and study losing loved ones. And I can definitely relate to that myself, being as though, my brother Tyrone West was brutally murdered right here in Baltimore City, and then, turned around just in last year, my cousin Tavon Anderson was murdered. And he was out on the front line fighting with my family. And then we also lost my grandmother a couple months after that. Like that, it's disgusting. So again, I just, thank you, and definitely want to check in to see, because I see it's a lot of comments that are on our screen right now. You can't see them, Miss Ellen, but I'm going to have our brother Marcellus. If Marcellus is in queue, he can go to the questions and the comments. And again, thank you, my queen. Mic check.
Mic check.
They seem like they use the same script in all of these types of encounters. Then they unjustifiably yell, "Stop resisting," and it's a bogus way to engage violently. So sorry for Elaine's loss. Rest in power, Jesse. He was obviously assaulting Jesse. Linda says, "Mic check." Adina says, "Oh my goodness, so sorry for the losses." Hillary says, "So sorry for the pain and stress this has caused for you and your family. Much respect for your persistence." Elaine says, "Thanks." And Judith says, "Elaine, my wife is from Seattle. Much love from Baltimore." Mic check.
Mic check.
And thank you, our brother Marcellus, for that. Thank you. And Miss Elaine, is there any more that you want to say? Again, like I'm just so sorry. Like my heart just completely goes out, and you have all the support in Baltimore. We're gonna surround you with love. We're gonna follow this case until it's completely over. Even though people always talk about closure, but to me, and this is my opinion, it's not West Wednesday. This is just me speaking from a sister point of view. Is I feel like in my case there will never be closure because they can't bring our loved ones back, but there can be accountability, whereas though we can at least start the grieving process, because until we have accountability, the grieving process is always like it's just on the back burner. I have not been able to clearly grieve and cry and do all that stuff, grieve, I guess, the correct way. I don't know if there is a correct way, but just be able to grieve and not have to worry about having a burden of, am I going to get accountability, blah, blah, blah. It's a lot. So I think my grieving process, my brother, children grieving process, my whole entire family process will actually start once we get accountability. So
I agree with you. I feel so sad for you and your family. I heard you and your brother speak in South Carolina, and you guys were very compelling and strong in your narrative. And I'm sorry that you've had so many years of trying to get the justice that you deserve. The only reason we were able to get a police charge in the state of Washington is there was a new law passed called I-940, and it took place in 2018. Before I-940, prosecutors had to prove that a police officer acted with malice. Now the standard is whether the officer's actions were reasonable. And so because of that, my foster son was number 18 out of 200 people that can fall under this new law. And this is our pilot one. So if this one actually goes through and he's convicted and sentenced, then we believe it'll open up a set of precedents for other families in Washington State waiting for this type of justice as well. And so it's a large responsibility on our family because being the first murder trial here, we don't even know anything. It's the judge, prosecutor, the defense, all of us are learning together. So I just hope and pray that your family will also get a semblance of justice. And I hope that we will be able to come back here and say he was charged, he was sentenced for second-degree murder and first-degree assault. That is our hope in life.
Yes, and that's my hope too. And that right there, to me, sets a big high standard of precedence, even though it's in DC. But we can actually take that. If that gets passed there, we can fight for different stuff here and kind of copycat what you guys are doing and put that into play, because that's the thing that bothers me, because they always say, and I remember that video that popped up on my timeline when I was just saying we was going to start West Wednesday, and I shared it the other day, and I was just saying that they always come back with this foolishness that the officer act within reason, and they get them off. And it's just sad and disgusting, but I'm hoping and praying in your case, my queen, that, you know, this will definitely be something that we can all share and kind of push through and get accountability well deserved, that we definitely deserve and need, you know. And I think about my sister Angela, whose brother was going through a mental health crisis as well, and he was gunned down right in his home. You know, and then the fact that we're talking, this happened a year ago, and my sister still does not have Timothy Fleming's autopsy report. This is like, it's heartbreaking to me, because when I waited 154 days to receive a partial flimsy autopsy on my brother, that tore me to pieces. Like, I couldn't do it. Like, I was just done. Like, we had to actually bury my brother literally without a death certificate. And my whole thought with that was, you're born in this world with a birth certificate. How dare you? Shame that you leave the world without your death certificate. But because we didn't have any answers, he literally left this world without his death certificate. And it's sad. And then was to the point, even when they came back with the flimsy autopsy, the bogus, the lies, because we had David Fowler, who's complicit in all these murders. When people are killed here in my city, and you seen how, I don't know if you saw it, during the George Floyd case, he actually went on trial and threw his own self under the bus. And it's like, we've been telling them this, like, literally we're telling them Pam Southall is a crook. We've been telling them that David Fowler is foul. All of them work. It's a conscious conspiracy to obstruct justice. And it was sad to the point that you're going to lie and say that my brother had a bad heart and that he died from dehydration. Like, really? You're going to say this lie? No, you wasn't going to say that on my brother. I had to go into my pocketbook, get out $50,000 to have my brother's body exhumed and the truth come out. We had two different pathologists that concluded that Mr. West was murdered from positional asphyxia. And that's just sad. Like, why? And nobody's paying me back my money. I need my money back. I should never had to actually reach down in my purse, take away from my family, just for my family. You get what I'm saying? Like, that's disgusting. So I'm just hoping that you know, that you guys, that justice be, that I'm not even gonna say justice, because I really feel like it's just us trying to hold people accountable, because justice does not allow anyone, whether they're having a mental health crisis, whether they're having a normal day, a sad day, a bad day, whatever type of day, to be murdered by people that's supposed to serve and protect. It is utterly disgusting and very disturbing. So I'm just praying. As for me, I believe in church and prayer. So I'm going to be praying for your family, you know, that you guys get what is due to you. And that's accountability for justice. So I'm definitely praying. And I also want you to meet, if you have enough time and whenever you're ready to go, my sister queen, because I know we're on different time frames, but whenever you are ready to go, please feel free and just, you know, say, hey, I'm about to head out. Definitely understand. But I wanted you to meet a dear friend of mine, and I met him literally like a year after my brother was murdered. I met him and his beautiful wife at the time, and they pretty much wrapped their hands and arms around me. And he was telling me, and what was unique that I loved about this brother was he told me that he was an ex-police officer, and how, he just kind of broke it down, like how corrupt they are, how they blackballed him. And I'm like, oh my God. And then I used to relate to his beautiful wife, but just recently, you know, his name is Pastor Steve Turner, but recently he just lost his wife, and I've been praying for him, ever since that happened. But I would like for you to meet him, and I'm gonna bring him in, and then we're gonna chat on, the questions or comments to see what's going on, because I see the board is still lit up. But definitely want you to meet our other guest, and that's my brother, Pastor Steve Turner. Mic check.
Mic check.
All right.
Hey, brother, I think you're
Well,
muted. I
first,
can't hear you. Can you take yourself off mute? Okay, yeah.
okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you now. I'm sorry we're having technical issues because I can't hear you no more. I could at first. I don't know.
Wait a minute.
Yep, we can hear you now. Yes. Pastor Steve, I think you're muted again. Can you try again?
Okay, hello?
Yes, we can hear you perfectly now. Pastor
That's
Steve, are
really
you there?
That's really weird. Like, you'll hear the first part of them, and then after that, you can't hear. That's weird.
Yeah.
Now we can hear you.
It's muting on its.
Is it? Okay.
Oh, that's weird. The well, maybe it's not. I just want to offer my condolences to the young lady and anyone else who's lost loved ones at the hands of the Baltimore Police Department. I just want to say I spent 5 years in the Northern District and the Western District Police Department, and it was I kind of understood I was in for a different experience in the academy, actually, because they said it's basically a difference between the public and the police department, and they basically said that basically us versus them, and so them is anyone who's not a police officer, and we were supposed to, especially to the Glock, had special, and we were taught to, if we had to get into a shooting scenario, that it would be center mass, so with a tap mesh method, where we start at the top of your head, come down to your nose, and then come on down to your throat, and come on down to the center. That way, you make sure that you're not alive, because being shot was to be a police officer, not the citizen. Am I still being heard?
Yep, you're still good. Keep going.
Hello? Okay.
Yes, you're good.
And so what you were experiencing, okay, what you're experiencing actually qualified as a non-player, which I have because I got in trouble trying to, I think it was a restaurant owner in the Northern District. I was told by the lieutenant who that gave him a ticket, and that he gives us, can you look the other way on it, because he gives us free food. And the regular citizen looked the other way, and owns a restaurant. He can afford to pay for this ticket. Looked at me and said, "Oh, okay, I see. We have a problem." And that was the beginning of my issues. I have been assaulted as a police officer by other officers. I have been my father, so that they extra grief when I was in the Northern District. My goodness, to hide on the back of the floor of a police car because said I didn't put gas in the car, and so it was in the wintertime. There was nowhere to go, and so I had to have my squad with smuggle me like cargo on the back floor. If I were to anybody that gives him a ride would replace him, to make an example. And, I'm just there was so many stories I just can't keep track of, but I kind of stood up to racism because that's really what going on as well. And a OIC, I won't mention his name, but which is mainly African American, and he called them stupid and dumb and all that. And fight was when he you let that white be like trash. How much y'all? Don't you have any black? And they heard it, and so they put up on the radar. Eventually, they kept wanting to go to the Western District, and one day I came in, they without to the Western, but they weren't doing it to do it because I requested it. They were doing it because they had a further setup for them, and they really eventually put me over there so that for being killed, because I had become a problem. Hit this guy on Reisterstown Road and bust him upside his head. His blood was all over the car. Instead of supporting him, I said, I can't support you in this. If anyone asks me about it, I'm going to tell them what you did. So I guess he went back and started talking about that. When the guy, the other officer, assaulted me on my day off, I actually wrote a report, got a CC number, and my sergeant saw what I was doing. Lieutenant, want to see you. I said, well, he'll see me when I write this police report. And so I wrote it for assault on police. And he had me come into the room with the guy, and his name was Ox. Yeah, and I was the only black man by at least 10, and so when they heard what was going on, they said, "What do you want?" I said, "I want him to apologize," because he said would not support me or back me up on the street. You still got to back me up. And eventually they, they let me go ahead 10 times till I felt like that I respected. Now, of course, you know that they didn't like that.
I got
sure that I would think I was
Okay, I'm making it a little louder for you.
It's okay, I'm reading it.
Okay. All right, I was kicked off one shift because I asked the lieutenant he questioned tremendously about my whereabouts, I said that, you know, I know authority, but so am I. And if you had stopped, you know, approached me openly about it, about where my whereabouts were, and trying to make me laugh, and told you because I respect you. But you know, he didn't like that. I said, so I need the same respect and authority for my authority that you have. And he didn't like that at all. So he kicked me off his shift. And somebody told the sergeant I eventually came up with told me, you got some balls of steel. That's what he said to me. And so I've always had a problem. And even why I'm not a cop today is to lie under oath for a gentleman who I saw with my own eyes for him for a warrant. But they claimed that he had a I'm like, it's impossible because I'm talking to him. And you know, I can't go. The jury believed me and didn't believe any of those homicide detectives. I know I was killing my career when, and now we call it whistleblowing, but it wasn't that way now. I was known as a rat, and it still has extended itself because what the police department has a lot of tentacles, and these tentacles I found out extend into areas you may not think it does. It extends into employment because trying to find jobs, it was more like someone asked me, the employer, why'd you leave the police department? And then they'll start talking. My cousin is a police officer, and in the background, and first offered me jobs, especially when they offer you jobs on Tuesday. But by the time they run your background and call folks, then on Friday they don't know who you are. What job are you talking about? And basically, someone said what they do is they especially in deep parts of law enforcement, that they will get you over lunch, slide on the table, and say you don't want this dude right here. And so I have had experiences also where she spoke about my wife. My wife was cleaning the curtains in our home and found the curtain, and she gave it to me. I don't know her, but I knew what it was, so I called a military friend. He came over and I showed it to him. He said, "You know what this is?" I said, "I was afraid of that." It was an electronic surveillance device. How did they get it into my home? That's what I couldn't figure out. And where I'm sitting at now, as we were coming from church, dressed in suits and ties and all that, I was supposed to have ran a red light, and so they are, because I was told by a friend of mine, another officer, that you run afoul with the police department, pull your car over, they run your tag. If you've been before, the computer light starts flashing red off and on, and so they know that you have been on the force. So the officer about Town Plaza had his hand on his gun. His partner was on the other side, telling me that stop my vehicle, put the dashboard, and so he presented my license. He saw I had another license from my mother, and he told me that you can't have that in the state of Maryland. And said, "Really? This is all I got." My mother left. He said, "We need you to put it in my hand." And I said, "I tell you what, I just told you that this is all I have. Why don't you up here and try to take it from me?" The officer on the other side, he can't do that. But violating the law, supposed to be law enforcers, is what goes on. Someone called and said that I was beating my wife, and when the sergeant, when they came into my house, a sergeant that I had worked with before he became a sergeant. So he came in my house and pointed right at my head said, where are your weapons? And I said, I don't have any weapons. He said, I know you very violent. And that's true. I'd be very violent. And I apologize for that. But I said, if you day, you would know that I don't have any weapons. My life has changed. And they tried to take me in one room and myself in another room. It's called sequestering, trying to get her to lie on me and say that I put my hand so they could lock me up. And that's kind of where I'm always at target of following in the streets, drones, coming to those fake BG workers who sitting outside my house. They don't work for BG&E, if you feel what I'm saying. Being followed by SUVs in the street and wiretaps. Are you with me?
Yes. I don't know if it's everybody in, but you were fading in and out. I heard most of what you said, but some of it was like kind of faded on my end, so I don't, but yeah. But definitely sorry, my brother.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's all right. I'd rather go through this and put an innocent man in jail. You really can't have any integrity, any boldness when you are dealing with this type of profession.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I just want to thank you for that, my brother. And Miss Ellen, would you like to say something to Pastor Steve? Turner, before we go check in for the questions. Mic check.
Mic check.
Go ahead and go to the questions if you like. I'm still here.
Okay, cool. We'll go to the questions.
Judith says no family should have to feel like simply getting a murder trial is a good outcome. But as Tawana says, at least this offers a chance for accountability. Great that this is going to, Linda says, great that this is going to trial despite the heartache of this story. Adina says, yes, I hope Elaine's family prevails and sets the precedent in Washington. Maybe it can be used as a model for the rest of the country. Elaine says justice for Jesse Surrey. Officer Jeff Nelson also killed Brian Scaman and Isaiah Obet prior to the murder of Jesse Surrey. Elaine says thanks to Hillary and says agreed to Judah. Adina says, so they trained them to kill? Horrible. Elaine says a mental health call should never be a death sentence. Hillary says, so horrible. Many of the officers who commit these murders have long histories of violence. Elaine says the prosecution is bringing forth over 75 assault charges that were ignored in Nelson's 8 years on the force. Auburn Police Department ignored Officer Nelson's behavior. Mic check.
Mic check.
Mic check.
So I want to go into the West Coalition, our members, just to see if anybody want to say something, or even Pastor Steve Turner, our special guest. And also I wanted to check in to see if our sister Angela was still in queue. Mic check.
Mic check. I would like to respond for a moment to the pastor's remarks. It's really impressive, how you've stood up to so much. I'm sorry you've had to deal with being shut out of jobs, surveilled, told to relinquish your mother's driving license, your only memento from your mom, being attacked by the enemy, though, is a good thing. It shows that you're doing something right. And integrity is a profoundly important quality. So very good for you. And for Elaine, I'm hoping that you're very successful with this first ever trial of a cop in the last 30 years in Washington. Look forward to hearing how that goes. Mic check.
Mic check. So again, I definitely want to thank both of my guests, Miss Elaine and Pastor Steve. Definitely want to thank you guys so much. And I have two questions for both of y'all. Miss Elaine, how can we support you from Baltimore? Like, how can we follow up on the trials? Is there anything that we could do, make calls, whatever, to support you in getting accountability for Jesse? Mic check.
Mic check. Miss Elaine, your mic is live if you want to speak.
Okay. Basically, we are about to have our website go live. It probably should be up in about a week. And on it will be file report, a timeline of what has happened. What we hope to do is use this as an education to help other families that go through this, because that's the problem with our system. It sets us up with no way of, not all families are going to be able to get a civil lawsuit or a murder trial, and that's wrong. And so I'm really strong in my movement with the Justice for Jesse Saray campaign that it shouldn't be one murder trial. It should be looking at all. If your death certificate says homicide, then why is it not being treated like other homicides? That makes no sense to me at all. And not to have any kind of support why our family goes through this. Just like I said before, there's been two collateral deaths, having the death of his bio mom and his brother is not, it's not right. And so the kind of help that we're looking for is to get the same kind of national attention like George Floyd and Dante Wright and Breonna Taylor. Jesse's murder has just been kind of swept under a rug. It's like nobody knows about it. Nobody even knew about it here until George Floyd died, and it actually gave our family the catalyst of having a voice. And then meeting you at Families United for Justice, starting to go out and meeting other impacted families has been probably what saved me, because we're alone. We sit at home in our homes, and I think people are tired of hearing me. They're like, okay, move on. And I think that's what should not happen. Our stories are important. And just like your brother, it's just not something, oh, well, let's move on, So definitely check out our Facebook and our Instagram and our different social media. And once the trial starts to happen, the trial support is really needed. I mean, I'm personally exhausted, and I've only been at it for 3 years. Imagine a family like yours that have been at it for multiple years. It's like they're trying to wear us out. I think it's designed that way. When they continue our murder trials, they're hoping we just disappear. So I just want to thank you so much for getting our story out to Baltimore, getting it out there outside of the state of Washington. To me, that is the most important thing that can happen.
Miss Elaine, there's a comment, and I was going to ask the same question about, can you provide us the handles for the Instagram and Facebook accounts?
I'll have to send that to you.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, I'll try to see if I can get to it for you. Hold on.
Uncle Bill, is our queen still there?
Yes, she's trying to look up the Facebook and Instagram accounts.
Hello, mic check.
Mic check.
All right, I'll have to forward it to you. I can't get to it from here.
All right, very good.
Okay, so once she forwards it, I'll definitely share it with you guys. And I just ask that you guys please share. And also, I'm gonna bring my sister Angela on real quick, and then after Angela, we're gonna go to our sad list. Mic check.
Mic check.
Mic check. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, Queen.
Good evening. Hey, everybody. Hey, sis. How's it going?
Hey, sis. Good.
I just sent out my prayers and thoughts to Pastor Steve and Miss Elaine. I just want to thank you for also always mentioning my brother, Timothy Fleming, his name. And yes, corrupt, you know, we still don't have an autopsy report. We still don't have an event that the investigation is open. It's been over a year and a half, and I'm not understanding why. You know, sometimes you get tired of being peaceful. Sometimes you just get tired of being quiet. Sometimes you just get, and then you just have to figure out what it is you need to do next. So, you know, living in North Carolina and trying to fight the city of Baltimore, when you know you have to travel back and forth to fight for accountability for your loved one. It's a struggle. It's hard. I'm not going to give up. Like I said, every time there's an outsider, it's just it's a lot that's going on, and it's hard. It's just difficult. You know, my brother, the kids are still in that house that he was murdered in over his two sons. So, you know, this is just dirty, you know. They don't even, it's like they don't want them to move out, stuck there. They want to keep them in remembrance of their murdered, stolen, taken away from them. You know, my brother wasn't a bum. He tried for his kids. And now the city won't even help provide for them. A social security check for a social service check, or there's always something crazy going on with their money. So it's like they're stuck, and it's hard and it's hurtful and it's shameful. And you know, we did the GoFundMe. We raised up $3,000. It's a lot more to move out of a home into another home, especially when you have and one of them needs to be in a room of his own because he needs his own at times. So I'm just going to keep fighting every chance I can get. Like I say, it's a fight. You know, saying my brother's name, Timothy Fleming. You know, and I want to keep saying Tyrone West's name as well, your brother's name as well, and all we're going to keep fighting until we get accountability. Mic check.
Mic check. Thank you, sis. And you know, I always got your back. And I'm so sorry that you're definitely dealing with those issues and ills. And I'll
Tawanda, your mic went out.
hear me now?
Good, you're good.
Y'all can hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, so yeah, I was just saying I'm so sorry that it was really sad. So just sending my love and support, and yeah, definitely sorry. And then also wanted to mention our brother Anthony Anderson, who was murdered a year before my brother, and he was, executed right in front of his mother. It's just so sad and devastating. And literally 2 weeks later, Nicole, who was married to Anthony Anderson's son, literally lost her 16-year-old daughter, literally 16-year-old baby girl 2 weeks later. How disgusting. This system just needs to be trashed and smashed. So definitely, before we go into the sad list, just for time's sake, because I know we started off late and it's really late now. I want to check in one last time with our brother Marcellus to read the questions, and then from there I will come back and we'll have a moment of silence and we'll go straight into the sad list. Mic check.
Mic check. Adina says, can she provide the handles for Instagram and Facebook? Elaine says, hashtag justice for Jessie Saray and justiceforjessiesaray.org. Facebook, Justice for Jessie Saray, and on wingloop.org, the Jessie Saray story. Adina says, what is the Instagram handle? And Elaine says, thanks for allowing me to share my foster son, Jessie Saray story. Mic check.
Mic check. Thank you so much for that. Definitely appreciate it. So, yeah, guys, I'll definitely be praying. But we're gonna take 1 minute for both of the lists. This is the part that I really don't like, but we definitely have to humanize these victims because they do belong to families. They're more than hashtags and body bags. They're more than being 6 feet in the dirt and pictures and buttons on t-shirts. Their lives matter. It may not matter to the ones that executed them, but it matters to us. And whether they was killed by community violence or by killer cops, it matters to us. No one deserves to be brutally murdered. So just, I want you to take 1 minute of silence. If you pray, say a prayer, please. If you don't pray, send positive waves in the air. Do what you gotta do. Positive healing. All that is welcome right here. So we're gonna take 1 minute just to pretty much just think and uplift these victims. Mic check, starting now. Thank you guys so much. So now we're gonna start off with the community violence list. Mic check.
Mic check.
We have our brother Brian and Q to read the community violence list tonight. Mic check.
Mic check. Brian, can you hear us? Brian, can you hear us? Mic check.
Before we started the live stream,
I
he was
think
having some,
Ryan's internet connection is not stable.
yeah, we're just saying he had some difficulties early on before we went live. Tawanda, would you like me to go ahead with the second list?
Bill, it looks like Tawanda's having connection issues too. Why don't you go ahead with the list?
All right, here we go. We're covering the 1 week period from September the 28th to October the 4th. And during that time, as far as we can see documented, the police stole 15 lives, and we'll uphold each of those now. Starting on September the 28th in Great Falls, Montana. This is a 49-year-old woman. And we mentioned last week this police killing, but we didn't have the name at that time. So the name is Danielle Sangre. Also on September the 28th in Greenville, South Carolina, a 34-year-old man, Terrence Sligg.
Terrence Sligg.
Thank you. Good to have you back on. Once more on September 28th in Sacramento, California, in a yard, which reminds us of one of the other police terrible killings in California. This is Jamie Naranjo.
Jamie Durham.
On September the 29th in Broomfield, Colorado, a man whose age is not given and is not yet identified.
Cell blocks for killer cops. Ashe.
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 Also on September the 29th in Baker, Louisiana, 51-year-old man, David Jones.
David Jones.
Sometimes it's hard to accept the fact that on a regular basis, all these people's lives have been taken by the police. Next, on October the 1st in Mountain View, North Carolina, 62 years old, Bobby Farthing.
Bobby Farthing.
And I'm sorry, I forgot to put my camera on here. Let me do that. In Denver, Colorado, on October the 1st, 30 years old, Abel Johannes.
Abel Johannes.
In Chicago, Illinois, on October the 2nd, a man who's not yet identified.
Cell blocks for killer cops. Ashe.
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 In Detroit, Michigan, October the 2nd, 22 years old, Porter Burks.
Porter Burks.
Again, on October the 2nd, in Indianapolis, Indiana, 40 years old, Thomas Talley.
Thomas Talley.
Once more on October the 2nd, in Aurora, Colorado, 35 years old, not yet identified.
Cell blocks for killer cops. Ashe.
Ashe. Once more on October the 2nd in Lawrence, Kansas, where there was a huge struggle against slavery some time ago. 43 years old, Michael Blank.
Michael Blank.
October the 3rd in Peoria, Illinois, 59 years old, Samuel Richmond.
Samuel Richmond.
October the 4th in Lansing, Michigan, 31 years old, Terrence Robinson.
Terrence Robinson.
And the last stolen life that we'll be upholding this evening, this man was killed by the police in Warrington, Florida on October the 4th, 36 years old, Colin West.
Colin West.
And I'm sorry to be the one that brings all this pain into the live stream, but it's something that we have to keep in mind what an incredibly large number of people continue to lose their lives at the hands of the police. Mic check.
Mic check. So again, I want to thank our special guest and we definitely are going to be praying. And you pray, say a prayer. If not, send positive vibes. We want accountability for Jesse Sarang. He deserves that. Tyrone West deserves accountability. Anthony Anderson deserves accountability. Timothy Flemings deserves accountability. All of our loved ones that were murdered by killer cops deserves accountability. And even with the community violence, all the ones that are murdered with these unsolved cases, solve these cases and give these families accountability. So, as we always greet you, and I want to thank our brother Pastor Steve Turner, and just sending positive love and positive prayers to him. And we will always hold our queen, Miss Turner, up in hand, because we know she's in heaven watching over him. And just remember that every day is an opportunity to show love. If you can't show love, then I don't know what else to tell you. Have understanding, like things don't always go as planned. Just like tonight, I did not plan to be outside, going on 9 o'clock at night, doing West Wednesday from my vehicle. But this had so just remember, you always at some point got to adjust your schedule and time frame. But remember, live to love to live. I love you all. And we'll see you guys next West Wednesday. And we have a live action coming up at Red Ellis. And I will keep you posted. It's the last West Wednesday of this month. So we will share information starting at the end of this week, beginning of next week. I want to see everybody face in a place. That will be our in-person West Wednesday at Red Embers. So live to love to live. And unfortunately, the way we brought you in here is the way we're going to take you out. The video that we brought you, in case somebody's just tuning in at the last moment or never watched West Wednesday before, it's the killer officer Ruiz, one of the 17 maniacs that started beating my brother to death, pepper spraying him, tasing him, kicking him, stomping him. But the crazy part, just like our queen said in her son's case, in Jesse's case, these were known killers. Like, he had already murdered somebody in Jesse's case, but we don't know that Ruiz had murdered anybody. But we do know he's a repeat violent offender, and we do know that he murdered Tyrone West. And I'm never going to stop until Ruiz and all of those 16 maniacs, which makes 17, are in the cell blocks. I'm not going to stop. We have been here for now 481 weeks. If you see, we ain't going nowhere. I could be in my car. I could be out in the street. I could be stranded, abandoned. We're not going anywhere. We can't stop. We won't stop until these killer cops are in cell blocks. So I will keep you guys posted as the trial goes on. And I want every cop that murdered or that participated in Jesse's case to be thrown underneath the cell block. So when that trial goes on, I hope I can take off and be there. But I'm going to share it, and we're going to get accountability, because if we change that in Washington, maybe it can be handed down, like my sister Dina said, across the country. It could set a trend of accountability. So tune into the video of, unfortunately, victims talking about this repeat violent offender Ruiz, who's still working. He's a sergeant. Like, he's working with promotion. He's still at Northeast Police District. Utterly disrespectful. So live to love to live. Love you all. Mic check.
Mic check.
And Mr. West begging for his life, and Mr. Salam begging for his child to be excluded and comforted from what was taking place. Not for himself, but for his 3-year-old child.
Case number 4, Adina Britt and family, September 10th, 2015.
My name is Adina Britt, and I wanted to submit a 30-second testimonial that Jorge Omar Bernardez Ruiz is one of the 11 terrorists that came into my house performing a home invasion in September 2015, terrorizing my entire family and even holding my 12-year-old son at gunpoint. He needs to be stopped.
Case number 5, unidentified arrestee, assaulted in 2016.
Mr. Jesse, back the fuck up. No,
Again, this video did not surface until the summer of 2020. Case 6, Thomas McCullough, May 2016 and February 2017.
I heard my front door coming off the hinges like it exploded.
Thomas McCullough says it happened twice. In May 2016 and February 2017, Baltimore City Police burst through his green front door and raided his Pimlico home.
They said, police. They come up, shotguns, guns.
He says officers ransacked the place, looking for drugs, money, and weapons. He took pictures of the damage he says they left behind.
Tell us where the drugs are, the scales, the guns, and the large amounts of money.
Nothing was found. Now he's suing police, claiming officers, including a former member of the Gun Trace Task Force, frightened him, his wife, and father-in-law when the officers conducted what his suit calls an illegal search of his home. The owner of the house tells 11 News after the second raid, he had to replace the front door. McCullough and his attorney say they want Baltimore police held accountable.
There is a colossal breach of trust.
And McCullough tells us following both raids, no one was arrested or charged.
This all begs the question, when will Baltimore City State's Attorney Marilyn Mosby see the prosecution of Bernardez Ruiz as warranted?
They were the stopping officers in these so-called jump-out cars, unmarked and so forth, that stopped both the West vehicle and the Salam vehicle without probable cause. And these officers are the ones that also were joined by others, but they are the ones who initiated the stops, pulled both men out of the vehicles, and commenced the vicious activity that was thrust upon them.
And the officer Ruiz that started this attack is still working and working with promotions. He is now sergeant. But the fact that this repeat of violent offender had a history leading up to my brother. There was Darrell Harris, there was James Green, Joseph Green, Abdul Salam, and my sister Dina and her family. No one family deserves to be brutally murdered or brutalized by this repeat violent offender Ruiz. It is time we take action. The time is now.
Baltimore police officer Jorge Bernardez Ruiz is a repeat violent offender. Based on these accounts, in accordance with the law, we, the West Coalition, call for him to be fired, prosecuted, and incarcerated.
We're more than hashtags and body bags. We're more than being 6 feet in the dirt and pictures and buttons on t-shirts. Our lives matter.
For the safety of our city, the prevention of further harm, and the justice for these families, we see no other option.
And again, I'll say, the time is now.